20 True Creepy Horror Street Stories. The wind howled low through the pines as dusk settled over the empty hills of northern Oregon. The last sign of life, a weather-worn gas station, was miles behind them now. That was when Ava first saw him, standing perfectly still at the edge of the road, half hidden behind the trees. He wasn't there a second ago, but now, as their SUV rolled slowly past, his strange red-tinged eyes never looked away. Ava Langford, 23, had always loved traveling off-grid, but this trip felt different. She joined her friends Tyler, a pragmatic ex-park ranger in his early 30s, and Lila, a quiet artist with a nervous temperamento, film a nature documentary across isolated wilderness spots. Their latest stop, an old cabin known only through word of mouth, nestled deep in Devil's Ridge Forest. Locals avoided the area. Rumors said the woods were cursed, but Tyler insisted it was just a story made up to scare off trespassers. They were here for one night. The cabin looked older than expected, wood warped with time, windows half fogged, and the scent of rot faint in the air. That first night, Ava tried to shake the feeling of being watched. At dinner, Lila barely touched her food, eyes darting toward the forest beyond the kitchen window. Later, while Ava stepped out alone to check their generator, the silence of the woods pressed in like a weight. Something rustled. She turned. Just trees. But on the cabin wall behind her, smeared across the wood in dry black soot, was a symbol. One she hadn't seen before. By the time she returned inside, she was pale. Tyler asked what happened, but she just said she slipped. Lila looked unconvinced. That night, strange creaks echoed above the rafters. Ava woke to what sounded like breathing, not from anyone in the room, but just outside the thin cabin walls. The next day, they discovered fresh footprints circling the cabin, heavy, barefoot. Tyler followed them briefly, before losing the trail. Lila wanted to leave. Ava agreed. But their SUV wouldn't start, battery drained, despite being new. Tyler swore the cables had been chewed, but not by an animal. That evening, Lila went missing. She was gone, only 10 minutes, claiming she stepped out for air. But when she returned, she was shaken, whispering that he spoke to her. Who? Ava asked. The man with the cracked face and burning eyes, the one who smiles without blinking. Tyler grew tense. He locked every door, told them to stay inside. But as the sun went down, Ava spotted him again standing motionless beyond the tree line. A grotesque figure, matted hair that moved like it breathed, skin like stone fissured with deep lines, and a beard that curled in wild, unnatural ways. His crimson eyes glowed faintly in the dark, locked on Ava through the window. Hours passed with no sleep. The candles flickered. They kept hearing tapping on the glass. Once, it was a whisper. Ava swore it called her name. When Tyler stepped outside to confront whoever it was, he vanished for nearly 20 minutes. When he returned, he was shaking, his voice low. He said nothing, just bolted the door behind him and kept the axe by his side. By midnight, all three heard movement above. Someone or something was walking in the attic. Tyler climbed the ladder with a flashlight. At first, silence. Then, a scream. A deep, animalistic scream, unlike any voice Ava had heard before. He came stumbling down, his hand bleeding, saying only 2 words, "It's watching." They decided to run, but when they opened the front door, he was already there, standing just 10 feet away, smiling. No flashlight revealed his full face, just glimpses, jagged teeth, wrinkled skin pulled too tight over bone, and those pinkish red eyes that seemed to pulse with hate. They fled through the woods in the dead of night, hearing him laugh behind them, not loud, not rushed, just steady. Eventually, they reached an old ranger outpost, abandoned but still sturdy. They barricaded inside. Morning came. He was gone. But etched into the door was that same symbol, burned into the wood like it had been waiting for them. Ava never saw Lila again after that night. She disappeared without a trace during their hike back. Tyler said nothing more of what he saw in the attic. And Ava? She moved to the city, but but every so often she wakes to the sound of slow tapping on the window. The rain had stopped hours ago, but the forest remained heavy with mist. Morning never quite arrived at Devil's Ridge, just a dim gray that hung between the trees. That's when Ava saw him again, half hidden behind the twisted ash tree near the edge of the trail, watching, still smiling. 2 weeks had passed since the cabin. Ava hadn't spoken much since. Tyler was driving them deeper north, into the Cascades. They had no choice. Lila had vanished, and authorities found nothing but her torn scarf by a creek. They told Ava it was likely a cougar. She didn't believe that, not after what she saw. With their camera equipment mostly damaged, they decided to pivot. Tyler suggested documenting local wilderness myths, using the story of Devil's Ridge as a starting point. They picked up 2 new crew members, Hazel, 29, an environmental researcher with sharp instincts and a restless energy, and Mason, 34, a skeptic and documentarian who didn't believe in ghosts, curses, or legends. That evening, they camped near a high ridge, surrounded by black ash trees. Locals called the place Hollow Root. Tyler claimed it had some of the oldest oral ghost stories in the state. Ava didn't sleep that night. Somewhere past midnight, she heard whispers, not voices. Whispers close to her tent, circling. When morning came, Mason complained of strange dreams. Hazel, who slept lightly, said she saw someone standing near the fire long after they'd all gone to bed. Later that day, they found claw-like markings on one of the trees near camp. Long, deep gouges that hadn't been there the night before. Tyler tried to explain it away, but Ava knew better. She remembered the same marks on the cabin door. That afternoon, as they hiked to a waterfall, Hazel wandered off to collect samples. Ava found her 15 minutes later, frozen in place, eyes wide. Hazel whispered that someone had followed her. But when Ava asked who, Hazel just shook her head. He was watching from the trees. That same cracked face, wild, coiled beard, and the eyes pinkish red like smoke before a fire. Back at camp, tension cracked the group. Mason accused them of playing tricks. Tyler grew quiet, staring too long at the fire. Hazel barely spoke. As darkness came again, the forest seemed to fold in on them. Branches snapped where no one walked. Shadows passed quickly behind tree trunks, and at some point in the night, Mason disappeared. Tyler and Ava found him hours later, near the edge of a dry ravine, mumbling. His shirt was torn, eyes unfocused. When they asked what happened, he said nothing at first. Then, with a trembling voice, he said there was no sound, no wind, no birds, just him and it. A hand on his shoulder, a voice whispering from inside his own mind, telling him to stay. Later, Ava was alone collecting firewood when she heard someone behind her. She turned and saw him again, closer than ever. The man-thing with cracked skin like bark and eyes like embers. He didn't move, just watched her. A low hum came from him, like wine through hollow bone. Then, slowly, he raised one hand and pointed behind her. When she turned back, nothing was there. But when she looked again, he was gone. That night, Hazel screamed. Ava ran to her tent and found it torn open. Hazel stood outside, shaking, with fresh scratches on her back. She said she woke to feel something crawling inside her skin. Tyler checked the perimeter, found nothing. But the next morning, a single word had been carved into a nearby rock. Stay. They packed quickly, but Tyler insisted on one final hike to the ash grove, claiming he saw something he needed to verify. Ava didn't want to go. Hazel refused entirely. Ava and Tyler made it halfway before they saw him again. This time, he stepped out of the trees. His face clearer now, lines so deep it looked like broken stone. His grin wider, teeth jagged and gray. Tyler froze. Ava pulled at his arm, begged him to move, but the figure only raised both arms slowly. The forest fell silent. Birds stopped. Wind held its breath. Then, from behind them, came a sound like a whisper exploding through a tunnel. Ava turned. All the ash trees were trembling. They ran. No words, just running. Back at camp, Mason had packed up, pale and shaking, said he was going back to the road, with or without them. Hazel followed. Tyler stayed back, silent, watching the trees. As Ava turned to leave with the others, she saw the symbol again etched into the trunk of the nearest ash, deep, still fresh. She didn't speak of it. On the way back, no one talked, but Ava knew. He hadn't followed them. He was already there. And whatever he wasn't bound to just one forest. He had found something in them, something he liked, and he was patient. A cold fog clung to the ground in Mount Rainier National Park, masking the dirt paths and stifling every sound. Just after 6 a.m., Ava caught sight of him, again half-shrouded behind the trunk of a burned cedar. The same twisted face, the same stare that refused to blink. They had left Hollow Root, but hadn't truly escaped. Something followed. The group, once a team of curiosity and ambition, now carried silence like a disease. Tyler spoke only when needed. Hazel barely slept. Mason's laughter was gone. The forest around them had changed. Birds avoided their path. Even the breeze seemed to avoid brushing their skin. Tyler claimed he found signs of human movement in the area, but no tracks ever stayed long. Branches would snap behind them, with nothing there. Their compass turned in slow circles. They made camp near a glacier-fed lake that shimmered under overcast skies. Ava watched the surface for hours, swearing she saw shapes beneath it. That night, while the others tried to rest, she walked the shoreline. That's when she saw her. A girl, young, pale, standing ankle-deep in the lake, arms limp, face blank. Ava stepped closer. The girl didn't move. Then Ava blinked. She was gone. But something else remained in the water. A shape, low and dark, watching from beneath the surface. The next morning, Hazel found deep scratches carved into her tent poles. The same shape as before, 3 long lines, each time deeper. Tyler found his journal missing. When it returned, its pages were soaked and torn. The only remaining words were written in red ink, none of them his. He is beneath. He waits between trees. Mason, once defiant, now whispered before sleep. He said the figure called to him, said the dreams were not dreams, just places out of time. He said the man in the forest wasn't human, and he'd been waiting for them long before they arrived. Hazel broke first. One morning, she tried to leave alone. Ava stopped her at the edge of a ravine. Hazel was pale, eyes vacant. She whispered something Ava would never forget. He showed me what comes after. It was hollow. That night, Ava saw him again, closer than ever. He stood across the fire, skin like cracked clay, smile spread wide. His beard tangled with what looked like bone fragments. He stepped forward once. Ava tried to move, but her legs wouldn't respond. The flames flickered higher, yet the air grew colder. Then Tyler tackled her, snapping the trance. When she looked again, the figure was gone. They agreed to move at dawn. No more filming, no more investigating, just survival. But the forest had changed its shape. Trails they marked disappeared. Trees twisted differently. It was as if they had stepped into a place that didn't follow the same rules. That afternoon, Ava heard humming, not from the group. It came from within the trees. Low, breathy, tuneless, as if someone was exhaling a lullaby. Mason collapsed hours later. He said he saw the girl from the lake again, said she was mouthing words, but no sound came. Then, he said, the forest opened like a door, and the figure stepped out. The one with red eyes. The man with bark skin and smiling teeth. He told Mason he could stay, that the others would leave soon enough, that Ava was already his. The sky darkened too fast that night. Wind came from nowhere, cold and wrong. The trees creaked, not with breeze, but something shifting. Ava stayed awake, near the fire, Tyler beside her. Hazel rocking quietly, with a knife in her hand, eyes never blinking. Then, in the thickest part of night, he came back, not from the woods, but from beneath the ground. The soil cracked in a slow spiral, and he rose like smoke through bark, his grin wider than before. He said nothing, only watched. Then the forest screamed, not with voice, with itself. The trees bent, as if choking. The air thickened. Ava stood, but her vision bent. She saw herself in the grove, alone. She saw Hazel dragged backward by hands that weren't there. She saw Tyler shouting, but no sound left his mouth. The man walked forward. Ava reached into her bag and found the old stone she'd taken from the cabin, the one she should have left. It was warm. She threw it at his feet. The forest convulsed. The fire snapped into blue, and then silence. He was gone. Hazel lay still, Tyler bleeding from the ears, Mason missing again. At dawn, they found the edge of the forest. Not an exit, just a cliff. Below, fog swallowed everything. They sat in silence. No one dared speak his name. And behind them, carved into the back of a tree, where no axe had touched, were the same 3 words. You brought me. Ava didn't look back again, but she felt him, watching. Under the blood-orange hue of dusk, the abandoned ranger station appeared out of the mist, half swallowed by moss and time. It was mid-October, near the northern fringe of the Olympic Forest. Ava stepped forward first, unaware that someone or something was already inside, watching from the upper window, unmoving, mouth slightly open. The others followed in silence. The station offered shelter, but no comfort. The air felt ancient. Inside, it reeked of mildew and something faintly metallic. They found shattered glass, clawed wood, and a child's drawing pinned to the wall. A man with no eyes, standing over a bed, surrounded by trees. In the corner, a shadow stirred and didn't settle. Mason's absence haunted them. Hazel no longer spoke, unless spoken to. Tyler carried a makeshift spear. Ava took the drawing and folded it into her coat. She couldn't say why. That night, sleep didn't come. The station creaked as if it breathed. Then the whispering returned, but it wasn't outside this time. It came from beneath the floorboards. Tyler lifted one plank. Beneath it was a well, dry, deep, lined with stone. From it came a faint rasping sound, like someone dragging nails across stone. Then a voice, not loud, not clear, but it spoke her name. The following morning, Hazel was missing, her bedroll untouched. Ava found her boot prints leading away, out behind the station, toward the old watchtower trail. She and Tyler followed. The forest around them turned darker. The trees leaned unnaturally, blocking light. They found Hazel's flashlight hours later, still flickering. It lay at the base of a tree, split open from within. Inside the hollowed trunk was a shape, small and curled. At first, Ava thought it was an animal. Then she saw the braid. The same braid Hazel had worn. But the thing inside didn't move, didn't breathe. Its mouth stretched wide in a silent scream. The skin was too pale, too waxy, and its eyes were completely black. Before they could speak, a low, rhythmic thudding echoed from behind them. Tyler turned, gripping the spear. A figure stood in the path, far but still too close. The same cracked skin, the same crooked stance, but this time, his mouth was moving, slowly. He was saying something, but no sound reached them. He lifted his hand. In it was Hazel's knife. They ran, not toward the station, not toward the trail, anywhere but toward him. The woods shifted again. Branches reached for them, roots twisted underfoot. Ava fell once. Tyler pulled her up, but he looked pale, distant, like the voice from the well had touched him. When they stopped, it was night again, but they hadn't been running that long. The moon was gone. The stars, too, in their place. A red glow bled between the trees. Then the humming returned. Low, uneven, like someone trying to mimic a lullaby they'd never heard properly. Ava turned and saw them. 3 girls, all identical, long hair, pale skin, eyes missing. They stood in a circle around a stump and pointed at her, without moving. Then, as one, they opened their mouths, but only one word came from all three: stay. Tyler stepped between them and Ava, spear ready. The girls vanished without sound. The red glow flickered, and the man returned. This time closer. He didn't grin. He looked hollow, as if the shape of him was all that remained. He spoke. You knew the door. He raised a hand and pointed at her coat, at the folded drawing. You brought me. Ava threw the paper into the fire. The flames turned black. Tyler collapsed. The earth buckled beneath her feet. She found herself standing inside the well, or something like it. The walls breathed. Shapes moved in the stone. Faces, screaming. In front of her stood the figure, now covered in bark, eyes dripping. He didn't speak, but she felt everything he wanted to say. She had opened something, not for herself, for all of them, for him. She pulled the bone pendant from her pocket, Mason's. It pulsed faintly. She drove it into the earth. A scream erupted, not from the man, from the forest, from the sky, from herself. Then silence. She woke at dawn, alone. The station was gone, the trail overgrown. No sign of Tyler, or Hazel, or the well. Only the drawing remained, pressed into the soil beside her. It had changed. The man still stood, but now he was inside a circle, trapped. She walked out of the woods and didn't look back. Months later, she returned. She shouldn't have, but dreams pulled her. In the same clearing, where the station once stood, was a single tree, new, alive, but its bark was cracked, its base charred, and beneath it, carved with something sharp, were the words, "We never left."